imagine. It remains a very, very good FA Cup final. And Hatchin! What a magnificent goal!
Good evening and welcome to All Things Sky Blue match preview against Burnley on Saturday at the CBS Arena. 12:30 kickoff. I think it's live on Sky or one of the Plus channels. So look at that or watch us if you can. Just remember where you can find us at All Things Sky Blue. We are on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We're on YouTube. And we're also on podcasts. If you watch us on YouTube, please go and like and subscribe. If you listen to us on podcasts, please go and rate us 5 stars. This season, we're sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications. His logo is in the corner, just there. He can do your steel fabrication work up and down the country, but mainly in the Coventry and Warwickshire area. And this season, we're partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar at the CBS Arena and the Sky Blue Tavern, where I am tonight, where I do most previews from. And we're also in association with Coventry City Ladies. So more on that, hopefully, in the future. So, as always, my co-host is Mark Smith. Good evening, Mark. You okay?
Hi, Stuart. Yeah, hi, everyone. Yeah, good. Thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. So, Burnley, Mark, on Saturday, the tightest defence in the Championship. Our last game against Sheffield United didn't go according to plan, but hopefully it's got dust out of their legs from the international break and they can start kicking on and playing the way that they played against Sunderland.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the hope. It was a difficult game on Friday. I thought Sheffield United were played really well. They're the better side. They deserved the win. I just felt we weren't. I wouldn't say we were terrible, but there were moments in the game where we just switched off and they punished us. And disappointing result, but I wouldn't say it was certainly not. It wasn't an unexpected result. I think I'd have been delighted if we got out there with a point, but. I think Sheffield United are certainly one of the sides there who are probably likely to get promoted. And then obviously we're playing another side on Saturday who are challenging for the top 2 as well. So it's going to be a really, really difficult game. Burnley they've been unbeaten in 26 games. They've only conceded 11 goals, I think it is, all season. It's a massive challenge for the side now because. Although we're still in a good position, we're 5th in the league, and fortunately, results overall at the weekend went our way generally, but we can't afford to slip up really. So, I think this will be a really, really tough game. Burnley are a quality side. They don't score bundles of goals, but what they do is not concede, and I think that's a danger. I think the only good thing about this game is we're at home, a big crowd behind us, and we're going to need all their support behind us because, you're effectively playing pretty much a Premier League side on Saturday. So we've got to be at our best to win. If we play like we did against Sunderland, we can get a result, but we've got to be at our best. We can't afford to make mistakes, and because you're playing against sides that can punish you quite easily.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And on that note, let's bring in Joe from the Turfcast podcast. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Hi, Joe.
Yeah, good. Thanks, gents. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us as well. Much appreciated. Before we kick into it then, Joe, just let us know where we can find you and what you guys do.
Yeah, so pretty similar to you guys. Just search Turfcast on pretty much all the platforms. We're on YouTube, we're on podcasts. We're like YouTube first, but everything goes out as a podcast as well. Most things. All the debate shows go out as a podcast. I try and do, short, snappy stuff for TikTok as well. So we're on there. We are on Facebook as well. Facebook's actually our biggest platform, just short of 50k now. I wish I had that many on YouTube. And I won't have to go to work. But we are on Twitter as well. I don't tend to use Twitter anywhere near as much these days. But we're on pretty much everything. So if you do want to find us, then please feel free to just search Surfcast Podcast on pretty much any platform.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So going into the game on Saturday then, Joe, you're in an incredible run of form. This is since we last played you. I think you're 22 unbeaten. You've got 9 draws. You've only conceded 6 goals. What's the key with that defence? Why, apart from obviously Trafford, why is the defence so good?
Well, to be fair, Trafford sometimes could just be on a deck chair. Like sometimes he doesn't have to make any saves. Like Bristol City, for example, who are up there with you, another decent side. They came to the turf in our last game. They had 1 shot on target, and it was straight down Trafford's throat. It was in the 97th minute, and it was from way out. Like the shots just don't get away. So it is Trafford. So yeah, Trafford has helped. Of course he has. I'm not saying he hasn't. He saved 2 penalties against Sunderland, for example. I don't know if you remember that. It was on TV.
Yeah.
He has done some quality saves. We won at Ellen Road, and he was a big part of that. But a lot of it's down to the centre backs. So you got Maxime Esteve and CJ Egan-Riley, the best. Well, I was going to say in my opinion that the best 2 centre backs in the division. But I think the stats back it up as well. We've only conceded 11 goals, like you say. So we've got 3 very, very, very good footballers in that sort of like trio of people directly in front of the goal. And then you've got the fullbacks as well. You've got Connor Roberts, who's incredibly experienced. He's played 3-4 years in the Premier League. Any other division he's played in has always been a decent standard as well. And then on the other side, for the majority of the season, we've had Bashir Humphreys. Now, Bashir Humphreys is currently injured, but Bashir Humphreys is kind of like a centre-back. So he is kind of like very reserved and doesn't get forward as much. So he's very good defensively. So it's part of the reason why we don't score as many goals, but it's also a testament to the fact that how good our defensive. And it does help. I will caveat all of that by saying it does help that Scott Parker does like a cautious approach. I think that's fair to say as well.
Fair enough. So, Mark, how do we break down that defence? How do we penetrate that defence, Mark? Is it just a question of players need to step up and play better, or does he need to change the system a little bit? How do we do it?
I think the first thing is we need to try and get in Burnley's face a bit and be aggressive. I think their approach and try to stop being so nice, because I thought the Sheffield United game we were too nice. I thought for the majority of it, and they just played for us. It was just felt a bit too easy. I think we need to approach it like we did with the Sunderland game, where we were like that. And I thought we played with, we didn't let Sunderland set on the ball. So that's the first thing. And we've got to utilise our options on the wide. I think Sakamoto, Mason Clark, who I expect to feature in this game, I've got to ask some questions of their fullbacks really, and we need to get men in the box to try and get the goals. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a tough game, but also I think set piece as well. I think set pieces. Hopefully Jack Rudoni will come back into the side for this game. We know the quality he can possess with set pieces, free kicks, and that. So I think we've got the quality. We've got the quality to unlock Burnley, but it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, a side that only conceded 11 goals all season, but something's got to give at some point. They've got to lose at some point. So why can't it not be this weekend, really?
Yeah, hopefully. Obviously, going back to our history a little bit, I've just done the last 6, and we've won none, we've lost 4, and we've drew 2. The last Cov win that we had was the 20th of November 2010. Carl Baker was playing at the time. Gary McSheffy was playing at the time. And that was, I think, a 1-0 win as well. So we haven't got the best form against Burnley either, really. The last time Burnley lost, funny enough, it was away from home. It was a 1-0 loss against Millwall, and that was the 3rd of November 24. So when they've lost, they've only lost by a single goal as well anyway, because I think that defence has just been brilliant throughout the whole of the season, really. How do we, from your side, Joe, how do we beat you? What does Lampard need to do to get that victory?
Well, if I knew, I don't think I'd mention it in case Lampard watches. But to be
I'm
fair,
sure you don't, mate.
I don't know. Genuinely, the game we lost, I wasn't at Millwall. I did watch it on my perfectly legal streaming device, but I wasn't at Millwall. The only game that I've been to where we've lost this season in the league is up at Sunderland, and there are a lot of mitigating circumstances around that. It was towards the end of the summer transfer window. We were going through this phase where we were selling like 2-3 players every day, and the fans were in meltdown thinking it were a fire sale and all that sort of stuff. So there was a lot of circumstances around that. But what I will say is, kind of going back to what Mark said, Sunderland got in our faces. They pressed us absolutely brilliantly. They had a lot of quality in the middle, and we just couldn't cope with the likes of Chris Rigg, and Joe Bellingham. And that's just exactly what they did. They pressed us brilliantly, and I was very impressed with Sunderland that day. They have gone off the boil a little bit. I just think the season sort of like ended up, they just got tired and ended up sort of like burning out a little bit, to be fair. But they were absolutely superb that game. So if you can get on the ball and you've got quality in the middle, and as Mark said, get in our faces and press us, then you can get a bit of joy against us. There have been some 0-0s where we've had this season where we struggle to break teams down that sat back. I don't think Coventry will do that. I mean, if you want to play for a point, that's the way to do it. Sit back and say, right, break us down. Although what I will say is, since Marcus Edwards has come in, a few teams have tried that and been unsuccessful.
Yeah. Mark, in the past, obviously, we've had, big teams come to the CBS Arena before in past history. Fulham, for one of them, we beat them 4-1. They scored first. Sheffield United, we've had at our place a few seasons ago as well, where we beat them 4-1 again. We beat Leeds at our place 2-0 last season. We can mix it with the best of them, can't we? But we have to make sure that we're on it. Who do you think is the most likely to get success in this game?
From our players, I think Jack Redoney, has to come back, doesn't he? I think we need him back. I felt he was a little bit I said previously, I think a couple of weeks back, I thought keep the unchanged team for Sheffield United, but looking back now, I think Jack Redoney was a big miss. So I think he's someone who could cause some damage. Mason Clark, didn't have a great game against Sheffield United, but we know the quality he has, and I'm sure he'll bounce back with a better performance. Haji Wright again was also a bit anomalous at Sheffield United, but we know what Haji Wright can do. If you give him a chance, he could take it and put it away. So we've got quality. We have got the quality going forward. I think my concern for me is the defence and the goalkeeper situation. We obviously know Dovin, who's obviously out for 6 to 9 months, which is obviously very sad. And obviously, wish him a speedy recovery from everyone at All Things Sky Blue. Yeah. But the defence is a concern for me. I feel that we give teams too many chances. When you're playing the quality of Burnley, you cannot afford to do that. They've got players there who could hurt you. I mean, I do worry about their 2 wide players as well. I like Jayden Anstey as well on that sort of left-hand side. I think he's quality. So Milan's got to be at his best. I think the other bone of contention for Frank Lampard is who plays left back. It's probably be facing Marcus Edwards. So do you go? I would personally go Jay De Silva, someone with a bit of pace, maybe. I know De Silva played in the previous game at Turf Moor and thought did okay, but then I think he was at fault for the second goal from memory when he managed to get the crossing from the byline and then they got a simple tap in, I think. So I think in summary, we have got players that are good going forward that can hurt Burnley, but my biggest fear is how we defend and the goalkeeper as well, because Brad Collins, in fairness, did have a decent enough game at Sheffield United, but he's under pressure really. He needs to perform.
Yeah, he does. Obviously, we have recalled Luke Bell from his loan, so that might be a case of he might be on the bench, and because of all reports, he is highly regarded within Cov. So we'll have to wait and see on that goalkeeping front as well. So, yeah. It will be interesting. Any questions at the minute, Mark, for Joe, from you?
Do you expect any changes to formation for Scott Parker? He tends to play like a 4-4-1-1 from what I've been seeing.
It tends to be more of a 4-2-3-1 sort of thing. But Scott Parker and Burnley are one of them that are quite fluid. Like they'll tend to be a different formation, whether they're in possession or whether they're out of possession. It tends to be sort of a 4-2-3-1. And obviously, we're recording this on Wednesday, and our press conferences tend to be on Thursdays. I'm sure your guys are probably similar as well. I know a lot of the clubs do it on Thursdays. So there might be some news tomorrow about somebody missing and therefore a change of formation. But it'll probably be 4-2-3-1 with the usual setup, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Obviously, going into your injuries, you've already mentioned Bashir Humphries, who's out. You've got John Joe Shelby that's out, Jordan Bayer that's out, Aaron Ramsey that's out, Lyle Foster is out. That's some quality that's out, and you've still got Savramento on the bench. I think Lyle Foster actually came back. He was on the bench, weren't he?
Yeah, he was back. Yeah, he played. He went on international duty as well at the recent international break for South Africa.
Okay, fair enough. Are any of them likely to be back and pushing for the bench, or?
No, maybe Bashir Humphries a push, but that'd be very, very surprising if he's back that early. Pretty much everyone you mentioned there is long-term injury. Jordan Bayer's not played a game this season. Aaron Ramsey's not played a game this season. They both had really bad injuries last season. Aaron Ramsey did something quite similar to what your goalkeeper just did, to be fair, with his knee. At first, we just thought it were a cruciate, but it ended up being a lot worse. He's had to have basically a season and a half out, and for a young player, that could obviously be very detrimental to his career, and we're hoping that he comes back the same player, because I didn't really see much of him in the Premier League, if I'm going to be honest with you. Same with Jordan Bayer as well. He had like a leg issue, then they had complications. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but when he came back, his leg was purple. Like, there's pictures of him in training, and he's got like a really thin purple leg, so he had some really bad issues, but he's not played a game this season as well. And as much as I love Jordan Bayer, and he was one of our better centre-halves in that season where we won the championship at a canter, I'm not sure he gets back in ahead of CJ Ginralli and Esteve. It's the best defence that this league has ever seen at this stage. And unless we concede like 15 goals between now and the end of the season, it probably is going to be. So, yeah, it sounds like the list is quite bad. But the only one that we're really missing is Bashir Humphries. And to be fair to Lucas Pires, who has been playing at left-back in the Humphries absence, he started slowly and a lot of fans were concerned. But his last 2-3 games has been superb. But he offers us something a little bit different. Like, he's a natural left-back, so he does get forward. If you are going to get some joy against a Burnley defence, it will be down that side, because he is a little bit more susceptible defensively, but he will also get forward and hurt the fullbacks on the opposite end.
Okay, interesting. So, predictions. Actually, before we go into predictions, threats from us. Who do you see as the main threats coming from a Burnley perspective?
Well, you mentioned Verdona. I think he's good. I didn't know he'd been injured though recently. That hopefully, obviously, from my perspective, I hope he isn't back. But he is a bit of a worry. Obviously, you mentioned Clark. I know you mentioned Haji Wright and him being quiet against Sheffield United, but he can be a good player. And you've got, is it Sakamoto as well? He's decent as well. So you've got some good forward players. So they're the ones that I worry about from a Burnley perspective.
Yeah, obviously, we had Bobby Thomas off you guys. What's your thoughts of Bobby Thomas? Do you think he was... Obviously, we had McNally in our playoff season. Out of the two, Thomas and McNally, who would you say was the best, if you like, of them two?
To be honest with you, even though they both came from Burnley, I didn't really see that much of either of them. Bobby Thomas came through our youth ranks, and I did have quite high hopes from the stuff that I heard from within the club about him potentially playing for Burnley and playing at a good level. But when you look at the players that he's been behind at Burnley, when he was coming through the ranks, he was behind James Tarkowski and Ben Mee. And then in that championship season, he's behind Taylor Howard-Bellis, who's now gone on to play for England, and Jordan Bayer, as we've just mentioned. And now he's behind the likes of Maxime Esteve and CJ Ginralli. So while I was disappointed to see him leave, I kind of understand it from his perspective. He's a footballer who's going to want to play games, right? Yeah. McNally, he were a weird one, because I probably saw more of Thomas than I did of McNally, because he just spent a lot of time out on loan, obviously, as you've mentioned already. Yeah. And he wasn't, I know, he wasn't very well high thought of by the people behind the scenes at Burnley. I don't know if you ever saw something, you probably wouldn't have done, but like a report came out of Vincent Kompany asked one of the scouts to do a report on all the players, and he said about McNally, all he put was weird athletic build. And it was just sort of like, it seemed a little bit sort of like below the belt. So he clearly wasn't very well high thought of at Burnley. And I mean, I would expect Thomas goes on to have the best career based on what I saw at Burnley. But I know you were saying earlier on the reverse show we do on my channel that you absolutely loved McNally when he was there, and you were hoping that Bobby Thomas, because you'd heard Bobby Thomas was better. I think you've got that from the Burnley side of it. I think we all thought Bobby Thomas was the better player, but whether he's gone on to do that yet, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, Mark, obviously, we saw McNally in that playoff season that we had, and we've seen Bobby Thomas now for a couple of seasons. Who would you say was the better player? Obviously, I like Thomas, but I did really, really like McNally. They just worked well with Callum Doyle and Fads in the middle as well, didn't they? They were both quite quick, either sides of a little bit more experienced. Fads.
I say at the time I'd still go for McNally. I think he's probably a little bit better defensively. I'm not saying Thomas is a bad defensive player. I think he has his good games, but he does make mistakes as well. And I feel that his passing's probably not as good as it could be. I think what might have helped Bobby Thomas now is that Grimes has come in and he kind of plays as almost an additional defensive player. So that kind of helps out a little bit. Although I think you could argue going forward offensively, Thomas is doing better. Would be a better bet for McNally because he's scored a few goals for us this season. So, but I think if you're looking at purely from a defensive point of view, I just think McNally was just edges it for me. But I guess the real question would have been if he had put Bobby Thomas with Fads and Callum Doyle, could he have been just as good? Maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing I would say.
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair question, mate. Right, predictions. Let's go to Mark first then. Mark's known, Joe, as the fence sitter, but I don't think he's going to sit on the fence on this one. What's your prediction, mate?
No, I'm not very confident about this game. I think it's been a really difficult game. I am coming off the fence, but I'm going for a 2-0 Burnley win.
Right, okay.
So you've come off the fence, but you've gone on the wrong side for this podcast, really.
Yes,
Well, I'm often wrong with predictions, so I'm hoping I'm going to be wrong on this one.
Joe, prediction off you, mate?
2-1 to Burnley. I do feel like Coventry can hurt us. Not many teams have scored against us this season, as we mentioned already, but I think you can be one of them teams. I know that a lot of people are worried about our defence, and rightly so. It's a fantastic defence. So I think it'll be difficult for Coventry to beat us. But what I will say is this is the game that I'm probably the most worried about. We are playing Sheffield United, so probably I'm slightly worried about that as well. But other than that, that game, this is the game I'm really, really worried about. I think this could be the game where the unbeaten run does come to an end. But like you said, it's 26 games. We very rarely concede goals. I think we have enough to get at your defence. I don't watch you every single week, I'll be honest with that, and hold my hands up, obviously. But I did watch you against Sheffield United, and when I looked at that defence, I did look at it and think we can get at that defence. And what Sheffield United did brilliantly is contained you very, very well. And I think we're better at containing teams than Sheffield United. So I think if Sheffield United can do it, we can do it. But on the flip side of that, you're a very different team at home, and that's why I'm worried, because it's down at the CBS and not at Turf Moor.
Yeah, we are better at home recently than we are away. I'm going to go the reverse, though. I am going to say that we're going to nick it 2-1. I said the same on your podcast that we've just recorded as well. I just feel that I'm hoping if the Sheffield United game came directly after the Sunderland, I think that game might have been a different outcome. But because we had the international break, I think players just had a little bit more rust. So I think the rust has come off now slightly, and I think we're going to see a better performance than we did against Sheffield United. It might not be to the standard of Sunderland, but it will be better, especially because we're at home as well. So I think we are going to edge it and nick it 2-1. I'm hoping that that run breaks with us from you guys. But yeah, I'm under no illusions. It's going to be a tough game. If you offered me a point now, I'd take the point and move on to the next game. But I'm hoping that we'll just nick it. Bobby Thomas, old club, 97th minute.
Anyone but him, please, mate. I have no issues with Bobby Thomas, by the way. Like I said, I was surprised to see him leave, but anyone but an ex-player.
Okay, fair enough. I'll let you have that one. So just before we finish off then, Joe, with all the guests, I like to do quick fire questions. One-worded answers if you can, but don't worry if it goes into a bit more of a sentence. That's fine. So the first one is one player to look out for you guys.
Marcus Edwards.
Okay, fair enough. Nice, quick and easy. I think all these will, to be fair. Where will Cov finish?
5th.
Okay, this is going to be a two-part one. I'm sneaking another one in here. If we make the playoffs and Burnley don't, and you go up automatically, do Coventry win the playoffs?
I'm going to have to take more than one word on this one because I think you've got to bring in a lot of sort of like different things.
That's fine.
I know you said if Burnley don't, I think if it's Leeds in the playoffs, then you've got a very good chance. I think if Leeds fall in the playoffs, I think they'll bottle it. Whereas with us, if we fall in the playoffs, because we've been third for ages, I think we're in the mindset of, oh, well, it's fine. We've been third for ages. Whereas Sheffield United, I think they've just shown that they can beat you as well. So I think you'll struggle to get past us or Sheffield United in the playoffs. Famous last words. Feel free to clip this up when you beat us at Wembley on penalties. But if Leeds are in the playoffs, I think then they've had a monumental bottle to be in the playoffs. And then I think they'll continue to bottle it in the playoffs. But I don't think Leeds will be in the playoffs.
Okay, fair enough. You've kind of just answered my next one, to be fair. So where will you finish, do you reckon?
Second, but again, I'm taking more answers. More wording. It's like you said on my show, it's literally a flip of a coin.
Yeah.
I did some bits with Green King recently, and they asked me to say some sort of like predictions, and I predicted Burnley will finish in the top 2 this season. And when they asked me why, I gave my reasons of, well, Sheffield United have still got to go to QPR. I think they could drop points there. They've still got to go to Hillsborough. I think they'll drop points there. And they've still got to play Coventry at home. I think they'll drop points there. They won all 3 games. So now I'm a little bit worried about them. And I know I've just said I do think Leeds will go up. And I think Leeds will go up because I look at in the top 2. So I look at every single metric, even defensively, and they have the best metric and the best stats more than anyone in the league in every department, like I said, including defensively, except goals conceded because of Meslier. They concede less shots than us and less XG than us. So every single metric that exists says that Leeds United should finish in the top 2. But as I said on my show recently, you can't measure balls, and I'm not sure. Well, you can. I'll say the exact same thing I said on my show. Get a tape measure out, but I don't mean metaphorical balls. Yeah. You can't measure that, and I think Leeds at the minute. If Leeds lose at Luton, I think they're done. But I think they go down there now and make a statement and have a comfortable win. But sorry, one word answers. Maybe.
Brilliant. That was a really long way to get to maybe. Fine. This one is the one that I'm interested about. Now, obviously, you've got quality in your 11 and on the bench, and that's injured. But if you could take one player from Coventry, who would it be?
Probably Radone. I feel like we do lack a little bit going forward, although recently we have been better. But all the majority of the season, we have lacked a little bit. And just somebody else with that extra bit of quality that can unlock defences. Yeah. Could have seen some of these 0-0s earlier in the season turn into 1-0s. And now I know we've talked about Marcus Edwards, and I do feel like he is a big part of the reason why we aren't drawing 0-0 anymore and turning these games into 1, 2, 3, 4-0 wins. But if we had somebody like Radone for the earlier part of the season, then we could have been on an even better run. And if we'd have turned just 2 of them 0-0 draws, of which we've had 11, I think, into 1-0 wins, then we'd be top of the league. So, somebody who can just unlock defences with a little bit of quality. Yeah,
no, that's a fair point. And Radone would be the man for that as well, to be fair. So, the last one-worded answer if you can. Now, I'm not overly keen on Scott Parker. I said it on your podcast as well, and I'll say it on here. I think he's fallen into jobs where they've got a really good squad anyway, and they're expected to go up. I would be interested to see that if he went to a Middlesbrough, for instance, if he could do the same at Middlesbrough and a bit more of a challenge to know how much of an actual good coach he is. Because he fell that way with Fulham, he's fallen that way with you. And I just, I'm just not sure on him. But as a Burnley fan, one-worded answer for Scott Parker.
What's the question? Like, what one-worded answer in what sense? Well, I like him?
Yeah. What do you think of him?
I like him. I agree with the reservations about the style of play. I think when you look at his record, anybody else with that record, and I agree with you, he has had an easy job. easier jobs.
Yeah.
Anyone else with that record, I don't think doesn't get the slander that Scott Parker gets. I think Scott Parker gets that slander because of his style of play, and people don't like that style of play, and that's fine. I'm one of them. I don't go to Turf Moor to be entertained. I go to Turf Moor to see Burnley win. And if I want to be entertained, I'll go to the cinema. If I can watch Burnley win while being entertained, then yes, take it every single day of the week. But I'd rather be bold stiffless and win 1-0 than be entertained and lose 6-1 like we were doing in the Premier League under Vincent Kompany. Don't get me wrong. The best season I've ever had as a Burnley fan, and I've seen Burnley finish 7th in the Premier League. I've seen us away at Olympiacos. All right, the result wasn't great. I've seen us win the league in the Championship, before Vincent Kompany came. But playing the football in the way we did and winning the games the way we did, it was much better. But I would rather win games than be entertained losing them. And just for a caveat on Scott Parker, he had a lot to deal with in the summer. I agree we've got good players, and if, like I said, if we'd have turned some of them 0-0s, which were partly his fault due to the style of play and how reserved he can be, we turned 2 of them 0-0s into wins, and we're top of the league, and we're probably not having this conversation. But a lot of things happened in the summer where the board was selling people left, right, and centre. I think they sold him a dream. They said, "This is the squad. You're probably going to win the league comfortably with this squad," and then sold a lot of them players. So I think he's done well to steady the ship and now have us in a position where we are within a toying cost, as you called it on my show, of promotion. And I think that is it. I think it is literally a toying cost now of which 2 of the top 3 go up.
Okay, fair enough. Any last questions, Mark, for Joe?
Not really. I think I definitely agree with what you said about the playoffs. I think I'd rather be playing Leeds if we get to the playoffs. Burnley. I think after this game, I'll be like, yeah, I want them to get automatics, because as a Cov fan, I don't want to face them in the playoffs at all. They are a really good side, and I agree about Parker. I think any fan, if you're winning week in, week out, why would you not be happy with the manager you got in charge? I mean, I think you're spot on there. I think, if I want to be entertained, I just go to the theatre and watch, something or the cinema or whatever. I don't know, but it's about winning, and he's doing a good job, really. So
Yeah, there's a lot of snobbery these days about style of play and stuff, isn't there, in football? And I'm not sure where it's come from. I think since Pep Guardiola came in, you've got to remember, we had Sean Dyche for 9 years, so we're kind of used to it. But obviously, Sean Dyche got us to 7th, like I said, in the Prem and things like that. But there's a lot of snobbery these days in football about style of play, and there's a few teams these days that don't have all the ball and counter-attack teams and like to do it that way. So it's good to see that there are some teams trying to play differently. But yeah, everybody wants to play in this possession-based way, as we both do now. And it's good to see that some other teams are doing it. But yeah, I do feel like there could be a bit of snobbery. Like we're third, and people are saying, I won't take Parker. And while I get the style of play issues, if you want a manager to get you out of this league, that there's Scott Parker or Daniel Farke, and obviously one of them's going to get 3 promotions out of 3 on the CV, or both of them.
No, I do tend to agree, but I'm still not sold on Scott Parker. Go on, Mark.
But then, if you could look at the best managers, Jose Mourinho has won lots of trophies. You wouldn't say he's the most enterprised of coaches, but he gets results. So I don't think those teams that he's coached will mind one bit if he wins them silverware. And I think for me, I want my team to be hard to beat. I don't necessarily. I mean, if you can be entertained, as you said, Joe, a bonus. But it's about winning in the day. That's what I want to see my team win. I don't go to watch Coventry play and be, it's a jolly good game, but we lost 3-2, but we played jolly well. I don't care. I want my team to win, and we all want our teams to win, because that's why we're passionate about our clubs. So
I want both. I want to be hard to beat and entertaining and scoring lots of goals.
Well, you're hard to please, aren't you?
I am. I'm greedy.
Yeah.
Right. On that note, thank you very much for joining us. Much appreciated. If you can just let us know once again where we can find you and what you do.
Yeah, just search Turfcast Podcast. We're a YouTube first, sort of like podcast second. We do sort of like weekly debates, weekly pre-game shows, full-time shows, fan reactions, news reactions, things like that. Just search Turfcast Podcast on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You'll find us there.
Fantastic. Again, just remember where you can find us guys at All Things Sky Blue on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Please go and like and subscribe. We're available on podcasts as well, so go and rate us 5 stars. We're sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications, and we're partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar at the CBS Arena and here at the tavern where I am tonight. Mark, pleasure as always, and I'll speak to you soon. Joe, apart from on Saturday, and obviously if we meet in the playoffs, apart from them games as well, good luck for the rest of the season. I'm sure you won't be in the playoffs. I'm sure that Leeds will bottle it, and that they'll be coming down into the playoffs and hopefully getting us.
I can't be bothered with the playoffs. I can't be bothered with it. I had to deal with it in 2009, and I know that's a long time ago, but never again, please.
Oh, I know what you mean, mate. I know what you mean. But we might have to do it again that way, I think. So on that note, once again, thank you very much, and play up Sky Blues.